Hey folks, welcome. Here we discuss real stories by real people. Today we have the story of a man who finds out his girlfriend has been cheating on him with most guys from their old high school. Let's see how it goes. Story 1. I recently had a messed up experience that happened because I just plain didn't listen to my own conscience and the voice telling me that something was up. I was in my sophomore year of high school when I met the girl who we will call Janet for the time being. Janet and I started dating pretty early on into knowing each other, and we basically dated for the rest of that year. She was really sweet and I liked being with her, but the thing was that she was always very wooden, or I don't know, fake maybe? I don't know how to describe it, but Janet was always vapid and just focused on the next fad or whatever is popular and trending. She didn't have hobbies or real interests beyond what other people were into at the time. So after a while, I stopped showing interest in her and we broke up. Whatever, it's a teenager thing. Janet was really pretty, so she got into a new relationship right away and we didn't speak for the rest of high school. Pretty small class, so we often saw each other but never really interacted after that. So the years go by, graduate from high school, go on to college, graduate from that and start my career. It's been 10 years since then, and I never really thought about it after. Well, I'm at a conference. Just kind of going through the motions, and who do I see? Janet. We both sort of recognized each other, and you would think we were old friends the way we started getting along again. We started chatting about what we had been up to, and how things at work have been, life at home, so on and so forth. By the time the conference was over, we had spent most of it talking to each other and catching up. I got Janet's number so we could hang out again. At the time, I was in a 3-year relationship that was ending, so I figured that maybe I should give Janet a shot. We hung out a couple more times, going on coffee dates, bars, or to the movies. One night, we ended up in the same bed together and started going out after that. What a change it was. Janet was like a completely different person. It made me wonder if I was just being super harsh on her when I was in high school and if I was just being overly critical or dramatic. She had gotten into real estate, she was super active, she cooked. Janet was basically everything I looked for in a woman. Really, the only problem was that she was super busy with her job, so I didn't get to see her for days at a time. We still kept in contact, but it was kind of a shame to not see her. So what I ended up doing was setting up a day in which we were both free, and we set aside that day to go do something. That ended up being our hiking day, where the two of us would just go for a hike and talk for the length of the trail. Things were looking great for us. I was really happy with how everything was going on. The only thing that I thought was weird was that Janet would have some memory problems. I would tell her something, then a day later she would forget it. Sometimes she would tell me something as if I was the one who told her. Very minor annoyance. As it turns out, she had memory problems because she was juggling information from several sources at once. So, a couple months into the relationship, I started to notice that she spends a lot of time on Facebook. A lot of time. Anytime I would catch a glimpse into her phone or she would show me a picture, it was from Facebook. I didn't think about it too much other than I kind of thought it was weird since the only people I know who still use Facebook were like my parents. Well, that became important when one night after we had gone on a long hike, she kept getting Facebook notifications late into the night. It was like every 2 minutes. I was exhausted, but I can't sleep if there's just a noise going on. Janet, however, was fast asleep. So finally, I get frustrated and go take the phone to turn it off. But I noticed that the notification was for messages. It turns out that all the little dings going off was a guy messaging her. Not only that, I knew who it was. It was another guy from our high school who was trying to get in contact with her about a date. What a coincidence. I unlock her phone and read through the messages, and it turns out that the two of them had been dating on the side. And he wasn't the only one. Not the only one she was dating on the side, and not the only one from our high school. I'm not effing joking when I say her message history looked like our graduating class. Every single guy was from high school. It was effing weird. There were at least 10 guys that she was talking to. I went through all of them, and every single one she was flirting with and making references of seeing them again for something. So I did what any sensible moral person would have done at that moment. I took a screenshot of all the messages, I sent it to every person on the list, and I told them that all of us were part of a massive cheating web with Janet at the center. Then I woke her ass up and asked her what the F she was doing messaging all these guys. She played dumb for about 2 seconds and until she realized that I had her phone. After a couple minutes of hashing it out, with all her time trying to say that I was just misunderstanding, I kicked her the F out and sent her back to the streets from whence she came. The bottom line, don't try to hook up with an old high school fling. I'm pretty confident this is the worst case scenario. Learn from my mistakes. Update. So one of the people I ended up messaging about Janet's escapades was an old friend of mine who I lost contact with a year or two out of high school. We actually ended up talking and hanging out again as a consequence, since he lived like 5 minutes away from my home, it turns out. So not a loss in the end at all. Thanks, Janet. I'm sorry this happened with your relationship, OP. You seem to really like the way things were going with Janet. I'm guessing Janet was desperate and just needed someone to settle down with. Either that or she's just a cheater and she likes juggling multiple guys at once. Either way, I'm happy you found out about this because it doesn't sound like she planned on stopping, even though your relationship with her was going well. Breaking things off, ending it, and letting the other guys know what was going on was the right thing to do. I'm glad you got a friend in all of this. Take care, OP. Story 2. So last week, my 29 male wife 28 let me know she was going out with her friend Ashley. Not a problem since she frequently goes out with her friends, and I've never had any problem trusting her. What was unusual is that she didn't get home until 4:30 a.m. Usually she's home by 2:30 a.m. once the bars close. I texted her at 4 to make sure she was okay and didn't need a ride home. She got home at 4:30 a.m., showered and went to bed without waking me up. I was fake sleeping since I was upset we had had a small argument before she left without resolving it. Also that she didn't respond to my text. I had to wake up at 5:30 to work but couldn't sleep. Got up at 5 and I heard a buzz from her phone. I was pissed and did something I never do, opened her phone. As I turned it on, it went straight to her message app where I noticed something strange. She had 2 people listed as Andrea. One was Ashley Smith, the other just Ashley. Upon further investigation, Ashley turned out to be a guy who she had started messaging 5 days after the wedding. Needless to say, I was in shock. There were a couple texts between the two of them almost every day since they had started talking. There was nothing explicit, but there were also definitely more smiley faces than I would have liked. The text messages revealed that they had gone out 3 more times in the last 2.5 weeks. One of the nights was from 2 weeks ago when she had gotten home at 2 a.m. This was the only indication I could have had of what was coming. I was staying up waiting for her since she sounded pretty drunk when I spoke to her on the phone around midnight. I was sitting out smoking on the balcony apartment that night when I heard a car idling outside of the complex. Strange, since she usually gets dropped off inside the complex. I went down to help her and saw her jumping out of a large truck. I got her home and asked her who had dropped her off. Ashley, she said. I said that it wasn't Ashley's car that dropped you off. She said it was Ashley's husband. I knew that it wasn't his car either. Are you sure? I asked. She got upset, pointed at her ring and said, I'm married, I would never cheat. She was drunk and I knew I wouldn't get anywhere arguing, so I dropped it and went to sleep. I've always trusted her, so I didn't bring it up the next day, and assumed maybe Ashley's husband had another truck I didn't know about. He's a mechanic after all. When I confronted her with what I knew, she immediately exclaimed that he was just a friend. She said that she was sorry that she lied, but she hadn't wanted me to be suspicious. She denied that anything physical happened and said she wasn't attracted to him at all. This is really hard for me to believe. I've never been a jealous person. She often goes out at night with her friends without me and I never question anything. She says it's a stupid mistake, but obviously shit doesn't add up. I left the house and have been staying with a friend while I get my feelings sorted out and figure out how to continue. She says she wants to stay together and work on it. I just have a tough time with everything since none of what she says seems to make sense. If he was really just a friend, wouldn't she have told me? She's had male friends before and hung out with them without me there. I've never had a problem because I trusted her before this. So we haven't been married for more than a month, and I feel like this is a terrible way to start off the marriage. We don't have any kids, mortgages, or combined bank accounts. Is this a sign I should leave, or is it worth it trying to work it out? I love her so much, but I'm wondering if this is something that will pop up again in our marriage. I don't trust her anymore, and I'm worried I won't be able to trust her enough to make it work. OP, if this guy was really just a friend that she wasn't attracted to, then he wouldn't have been put into the phone under a fake name. She would not have hidden him from you. She isn't concerned about your feelings or scared you'd be jealous and take things the wrong way. There are a lot of people shouting for you to run, but you need to think carefully on that. Make a list of all the good things and bad about her and weigh them out. Think long and hard about whether you're happy or more often than unhappy with her. Then decide. If you're happy more often than not, then go to counseling with her. If she doesn't want to go and isn't committed to salvaging things, then you have your answer. If you're unhappy more often than not, then there's no reason to live like that, so just move on. Now for some comments. Yeah, this would be a deal breaker for me. The lying, the sneaking around, giving that person a different name, coming home late, texting and meeting up in a short period of time, all around the time you guys got married. To me, that's definitely cheating, regardless of any physical stuff. I would be heartbroken and wouldn't trust my SO ever again. Look, monogamy isn't easy, and mistakes are all but inevitable in monogamous LTRs. But a week after the wedding? Part of growing up is learning how to appropriately respond to the feelings that you will inevitably get for someone that isn't your SO. And she responded wrong. But if she's serious about working things out and never talking to this guy again, you can tentatively give her another chance. But don't buy a house, share accounts, or get pregnant. If she's not seriously regretful and working hard to earn your trust back, dump her immediately. I'm really sorry this happened. It's not going to be an easy one to figure out. But you know, she doesn't take those marriage vows too seriously. Even if she isn't lying through her teeth, she is. She has betrayed your trust and you have zero reason to have any faith in what she says. Why would she hide it? If she had simply come clean instead of doing all this cover-up of tracks and all that, then I'd say maybe it would be worth waiting it out. But she's showing no signs of remorse for hiding anything from you, so you have no reason to believe any of what she's told you. Kick her out and file for divorce. Honestly, a party girl and a liar, no real ties to bind you, let's call this one a mulligan.